recording, just so everybody is aware. Welcome to our first Data and AI Roadshow for these OpenAI specific series. And we are so excited to be kicking off our conversation today with Amul Chopla, who is a principal CSA at Microsoft, and he focuses on the data and AI space. Very knowledgeable and was going to share some of his experience preparing a demo with you for an AI-powered call center intelligence that leverages our Azure AI suite, including OpenAI. So we will go ahead and get that kicked off in just a moment. But before we do, Amol, if you can advance to the next slide. I'm not sure if you moved on, but you skipped some of the the informational slides there. Can you go back to that? Do you have that one there?
Yeah, give me a second.
All right. Well, he's pulling that up. This is the first of a series of, I believe, 4 engagements that we have scheduled on OpenAI use case topics. So we will be talking about standing up your own demos in your environment. We will be talking about search plus GPT, which is one of the most common use cases we've seen across all industry. And there is going to be a few other engagements that we will trickle in along the way. One of the exciting ones that we've got scheduled is on anomaly detection and report generation. So not only will we use our Azure AI services to perform some anomaly detection, we will then generate a report off of those insights using that OpenAI generative capability. So very exciting topics are planned. We have asked in the past that everyone that attends these engagements or watches the recording provide feedback. I provide a feedback link to a survey. I'm going to ask that everybody do that during the call today. That way we can really capture what's landing with our audience, what you're liking, what you're not, where we can follow up with you and continue the conversation. This is just a base level conversation that we can definitely dig deeper and continue with those who are interested in doing so. I think Amul's having a little bit of difficulty with his screen at the moment, so I'm going to go ahead and share my version of the PowerPoint. We can convert back over to you when it's time for that demo. But for now, let me get that going for you. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Looks good.
Yes.
Yep. Looks good. Happy to hear that feedback. And without further ado, I will go ahead and pass it off to Amul. Let me get you going to your slide here.
Okay, thanks, Anna. Hello, everyone. My name is Amul Chopla. I'm a cloud solution architect here at Microsoft, focusing heavily on AI. Have been working with many customers on their transformational journey using AI, and most exciting time with OpenAI, right? So with that, Hannah, looks like my screen share should work. So I'm going to take over the share, if that's okay.
Yeah, take it away.
Okay.
I see a green screen currently, so.
Okay, are you
there
guys
it
able
is.
to see? Perfect.
It's there. Yeah.
Okay, so we will start with the all-up Azure AI platform and then dive into the Azure OpenAI service. And then we'll talk about how you can make this valuable to your use cases using a call center intelligence use case. So what is Azure AI platform? It's a collection of artificial intelligence services offered by Microsoft as part of our Azure cloud platform. These Azure AI services are designed to make it easy for developers and organizations to add AI capabilities into the applications without need for having extensive expertise in AI or the data science toolset. Azure AI includes a wide range of services, such as Azure Cognitive Services that provides ability to add functionality using computer vision, speech to text, text to speech, natural language, and other capabilities. These are pre-built APIs, REST APIs that you can leverage, using the familiar REST API protocols without having, again, any data science or AI expertise. We also have Azure Machine Learning Platform, which is a cloud-based platform that allows you to build, deploy, and manage custom machine learning models. So you can go beyond what is offered as a pre-built AI models and build something custom of your own. You can also leverage the Auto ML functionality that is available part of Azure Machine Learning Suite. We also provide Azure Applied AI services, which are scenario-based AI services such as cognitive search, form recognizer, and others. So Azure OpenAI service is another cognitive services that Microsoft is offering on the Azure AI platform. What that means is OpenAI service gets the same enterprise readiness features such as security, compliance, data governance, and privacy, and ability to customize just like other cognitive services. And it also gets the same ease of use. So you can leverage this OpenAI service using familiar REST APIs. So let's talk about the Microsoft partnership with Azure OpenAI. And what is OpenAI service, right? Now, before we really jump into OpenAI, I like to, ground on this new category of artificial intelligence, right? So the AI field itself has been out there for decades. The research in this field started way back in 1950s, but it didn't really became mainstream until the evolution of the big data platforms, supercomputing power and GPU and everything that was needed to tap into large data sets and make these models very effective and highly accurate. So AI, it's really a program that can sense, react, act, and adapt, right? It has been out there for some time. Machine learning is a subfield of AI, which is algorithms that can usually learn and perform better as they are trained with more and more data over time. Deep learning is a subset again within machine learning, which is trying to mimic human brain by essentially having interconnected artificial neurons, right? The deep learning models are really useful when you have large training data set that you can use to customize and tune these models. So where does OpenAI fit in there? It's a new category that has really become in the mainstream or last few months uh, with release of ChatGPT and other generative models. These are the generative models. These are the AI models that can generate content, whether you are looking to generate a text content based on your natural language instructions or generating the image, right? You can have this AI technology write an email, write a poem, even do your kids' homework, right? So it can do all that using the large language functionality that it's built on. Okay, so Microsoft has a partnership with OpenAI for few years now, which is focusing on working together to develop these state-of-the-art generative AI models. Uh, the focus started in NLP, but it's expanding to the multi-model approach, including computer vision and other areas of AI. with this partnership, we work together to train these really large language models using internet scale dataset, using the power of Azure supercomputing infrastructure. As you can imagine, because you have such a large dataset, it requires a lot of computing power, and Microsoft spent a lot of effort and innovation to build a platform that is suitable to train these large language models, so it can adapt to and tune to this large data set over the internet. So as we work together, we also provide Azure cloud computing infrastructure to make these models available to developers and organizations, where you can tap into these models using REST API. So there are four key model families that we have out there today, and this is quickly evolving as you might be hearing in the media out there. So it started with GPT-3, and now we also have GPT-4 in preview, Codex models, Dolly, and ChatGPT. So these are the four key model families that we are going to talk about. And these models really, they differ based on the output it provides. GPT-3 and GPT-4 are for text completion. So GPT-3 really started with a very simple instruction model where you provide a prompt, which is a text instruction to the model to do something. For example, the prompt can be write a tagline for an ice cream shop, right? And it will come back with a text response. Versus we have codex models where again the prompt is a text. However, the output it creates could be a code. Write me a SQL statement to do something. Give me a node example that is going to query the backend REST API or invoke backend REST API to do X, Y, Z. Dolly models, they are catered for generating images, where again, the prompt or the instruction is text, but the response is an image, right? ChatGPT, it's a newer model family there, where it was tuned for conversational interface, uh, conversational AI scenarios where you provide a set of dialogues or messages, and it will basically give you the next message out. Let me take a pause there, Hannah, and see if there are any questions that are specific to the slides that I can address while we are there.
I don't see any questions in the chat. Does anybody in the audience have questions to now? You can raise your hand and I can call on you if you do. Okay, let's move forward. If any questions come up, place them in the chat or raise your hand and we will pause for questions along the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about the Azure OpenAI service. So once these models are trained in partnership with OpenAI, uh, what Microsoft does is we bring the baseline models, whether it's GPT-3, GPT-4, Codex, Dolly, or any of these models. We start with the baseline models that OpenAI has trained in partnership with Microsoft, and then we make them available on the Azure platform. So what that gives you in terms of the value and enterprise control is it gives you ability to deploy the same baseline models that OpenAI has developed and released through your Azure subscription, through your Azure tenant. So you can deploy these models using the same automation and security controls like you are already familiar with for other Azure services. So we give you this same baseline models, right? And give you ability to customize or fine tune these models, either with your data or simply just changing the hyperparameters of the models. We see customers changing the hyperparameters of the model to suit their scenario, such as changing the temperature parameter, which controls how random or predictive the model is, right? So if you are looking at more of a creative writing scenarios, you can set the temperature closer to 1, versus if you are looking for more of a factual answers, you can set the temperature to 0. So, we give you access to those hyperparameters available through the OpenAI models when you tap into Azure OpenAI service. Now, because these models are generative in nature, it can potentially generate harmful content, right? And for that reason, Microsoft has provided built-in responsible AI functionality, so it can detect and mitigate harmful usage of these models. What does that mean for you? So if you are submitting a prompt or an instruction that is asking the model to do something that could be harmful, it is going to detect that, and it's going to notify you that, hey, it's this is not allowed. It's going to basically filter that out right as you send the request. Or you might be generating some content, let's say, sexually or abusive or hateful or pornographic content. It's going to detect that and also mitigate that part of our responsible AI controls that's provided out of the box. And finally,
Well, we do have a question.
sure.
Imran?
Yes, thank you, Anna. And Emil, I just wanted to clarify, you're saying that these all modules are available on Azure subscription, like in our own subscription, all these four models, right?
On yes, and when I say your subscription, let's start talk about usually the enterprise subscriptions. But
Yeah.
yes, now please continue with your question, and then I'll
Yeah, no,
answer
no,
the entire.
no. That's what my question is, Emil. Like I really want to know more about these. Like if somebody can give me more information, like how we can get access to all these models within our own subscription. Because in my understanding, the Open AI, like we can only use chat or like chat GPT kind of thing. Like, but I was not aware that DALI and Codex and GPT-3 and GPT-4 are also available.
Yes. So these services are gated. What that means is it is not going to be available to you out of the box. You have to submit a request to so you can access these models, right?
All right.
So unlike other Azure AI services, when you have Azure subscription, you can leverage these models, but because these are generative in nature and really the power that comes with that, these are gated services. So you have to go through the request process.
All right. And these are available, like there is no lead time or like wait time for these.
Yeah, so there is depending on what functionality you are requesting, the request process, specifies how long it takes for to review and approve those requests. So I would say, we can drop a link for you to request that access,
Thank you.
and depending on what functionality you are requesting for example, if you are requesting Dolly, then it might have X number of days to review and approve the application versus, it could be different for, ChatGPT or GPT-4.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Any other questions?
Nope, I just want to do a quick time check. We've got about maybe 5 or so more minutes before we might want to start heading into the demo conversation to make sure we have time for Q&A at the end.
Sure. Sounds good. Last thing to mention here, this is really important for enterprise customers. Azure OpenAI service, it gives you the same enterprise-grade security that you might be already familiar with other Azure services, including ability to use private networks. So what this means is you can consume these OpenAI models through the private network, essentially cutting off any functionality from the internet. This is this might be important for highly regulated customers. So that functionality is also available through Azure OpenAI. Okay, so when you talk about these model families, there are multiple models available. For example, GPT-3, it has 4 models in that family, and they go, as you move from bottom left to top right, they get powerful in terms of the functionality it provides, right? As well as the cost per token also goes up and the inferencing time. So the way you want to think about this is as you evaluate your needs, various use cases that these models are fit for, you want to start with Da Vinci model and see if that gives you what you need, and then make your way down into smaller models and see if you can get faster response time, cheaper cost per token, but still achieve the same functionality. So wanted to point out that there are multiple models available in GPT-3 family. ChatGPT model is a fine-tuned model from GPT-3 series, right? So what was done is start with GPT 3.5 series model, the baseline model, and then tune it for conversational scenario. And again, this was trained on the Azure AI supercomputing infrastructure, but it was more catered for conversational interface. So the key difference between ChatGPT model and the GPT-3 is GPT-3, as we saw, it's text in, text out, right? Generate an email that is doing XYZ versus ChatGPT is conversation in, message out. This is a stack of back and forth between an agent and the system. Given that context, what should be the next message by these models, right? So there is the difference between the GPT-3 models and the ChatGPT models. And for ChatGPT, there is something called ChatML, which gives you a way to structure this conversation using the Chat API. Microsoft is working to bring this AI to our broader Microsoft platform, including Office products. You might have seen that already available through Bing Chat API, through the Edge, through Teams, uh, to summarize the meetings and topics, right? So you can jump into the section of the meeting that you missed and just want to go and review, captures action items, things like that. Power BI, again, it can write DEX formulas for you. So you can just say, hey, write a formula that does this, and it will generate the code for you, things like that. You might have seen GitHub Copilot, which is again using this generative AI to draw the context from the code that you are working on, and it can suggest lines of code or entire functions based on the context that it's capturing from your code. You can also control the GitHub Copilot to say, hey, only give me suggestions from my private GitHub repos, because I do not want to provide any suggestions from the public GitHub repos for whatever reasons that your company policy might be. Okay, so how do you customize these models and get the value out of that? So in next 20-25 minutes, as we go through the demo, we'll focus on how you can make these models work for your use case, right? So we start with these baseline models that's available on through Azure OpenAI Service, right? Some are in preview. Then you want to marry this up with your data, right? And your prompts. Prompts, again, as you know, are the instructions that you are providing to these models to do something with your data, right? The prompt could be, given this context, help me answer this question. What is the address in this unstructured text? Summarize this email content, summarize this meeting transcript. So those are your prompt that you can provide to these models against your data and essentially leverage these very powerful language models without doing any model training or having any NLP expertise. So that is really the promise of this large language functionality, ability to get the value from these models without having AI expertise, having data science expertise. So here is an example of how that could work. Essentially, you give the context of what you're trying to do, right? Sorry, I'm trying to grab my pen. You give the context along with your prompt, right? And this is the response that you get from the model, right? So along with the context, you might be feeding in your data, right, with the prompt, and out get the response that is specific to your business needs. So some of the key use cases that we see customers apply this functionality to is in content generation, where you are trying to generate some creative content, whether it's for marketing, for generating the emails or other use case. Summarization is very powerful, right? Many times we are constrained by the time, or we don't have time to summarize a meeting or summarize a call, right? A call transcript. So these models are very powerful at generating customized summary, and we'll see through a demo how you can use this functionality to summarize a call conversation. You can also use it to generate the code. You saw, a GitHub Copilot, which provides this functionality, as well as ability to do semantic search by using the embedding API. So the scenario we'll look at today through the demo is going to be for call center analytics, where we will simulate agent and customer conversation and use this OpenAI functionality. Okay, so before we jump into the demo, I wanted to flesh this reference architecture. What we'll be doing is we will simulate a call conversation. Instead of getting the call through the telephony system, Hannah and I will use a laptop microphone through the Teams to simulate the agent and customer conversation. What you will see is speech to text live transcription using Azure Speech API and Azure OpenAI powered functionality to extract key information from the entire call transcript. You can then put this data, all these insights into your CRM. If you wanted to push that to Power BI for historical or post-call analytics and do a multitude of other things. Any questions before we jump into the demo? Okay, so I'm going to switch my screens here. And I'm going to bring up the demo UI here. Okay, so as Hannah and I go through this interaction, please stay on mute because whatever you might say will be treated as a call conversation. What you are going to see in this demo is you will see a live transcription of our conversation that will be done using Azure Speech Service. You'll also see a live extraction of entities using Azure Language Service. And then we will go through some of the natural language prompt to extract various insights from the entire call transcript. So I'm going to select English as the language here. However, whatever you are going to see here can be done in many languages. So this is not limited to just English, can be done in any language you prefer. Hannah, just checking if you're ready to start.
Yep, I'm the customer, right?
You are
Or
the agent.
I'm the agent. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you for calling Contoso Insurance. My name is Hannah Abbott. How can I help you?
I had an accident. I'm calling to file a new claim.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Was anyone injured in the accident?
No, nobody was injured, but there is some damage to the car.
I'm relieved to hear that no one's injured. Can I get your name, please?
Yes, my name is Amol Chapla.
And can you verify your date of birth?
It's October 29th, 1984.
All right, let me pull up your information. Please hold. I see you live at 425 Michigan Avenue in Chicago, Illinois. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, can you verify your phone number for me?
it's 312-456-9876.
And finally, what is your policy number?
My policy number is 867-5309.
Okay, where did this accident happen?
It happened in the Walmart parking lot in the north side of Chicago. It was raining heavily that day, so I guess the other car's driver didn't see my car when backing up.
Okay, when did the accident happen?
It happened on Sunday morning around 10 a.m. on March 15th.
Okay, can you describe the damage to your vehicle?
Yeah, my car's bumper is damaged on the right side. I have some pictures of the car damage, if I can send it to you somehow.
Okay, let me create a new claim for this. Please hold on. I've created a new claim and will be contacting you for scheduling repairs to your vehicle. We'll also send you a link via email so that you can upload the pictures you've taken. Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, thank you for your help.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
Okay, so as you saw during this conversation, you are seeing a live transcript and extracting all the named entities using language services. Now we are going to do some prompt engineering using Azure OpenAI service. So what we will do is we will start with a very simple prompt, which is TLDR, too long, did not read. Please summarize this conversation. So what it's going to do is it's going to take this entire call transcript that you see here, along with this prompt, and it will generate a general summary of this conversation. Now, I said general summary because we did not uh, provide any instruction to this model to say, hey, I want you to focus on XYZ details as you summarize this conversation. So we are going to change that by providing this prompt where we are saying, hey, you are an assistant that is helping to summarize the phone call. I want you to create a summary that is focused on these details. So this is where you can customize for your specific use case, whether you are looking to extract healthcare details or looking to extract details about finance statements or any other things that is pertinent to your business use case. You can simply provide that in your prompt as explicit instruction, and the model is now simply going to take the same prompt, along with the transcript and give you a summary that is much more personalized for your needs. So as you can see between these two summary, all we changed was this prompt, and we did not need any other changes or tuning to generate a different outcome that is much more personalized for this specific scenario. Okay, what we are going to do now is we are going to ask this model to provide specific information, again, from the entire call transcript. What is the reason for the conversation, the sentiment, the accident location, was the airbag deployed, right? And we are telling the model, give me the answer as yes, no, or not mentioned. Was the police called to the scene, right? Policy number, did the customer take any pictures, things like that. And the model, just using that prompt and the input text, now comes back with all that information. If it's not available, for example, in our conversation, we did not talk about airbag getting deployed or even police getting called to the scene. So it says not mentioned. So this is where I have changed the hyperparameter of the model, where I have set the temperature to 0. So the model is not going to hallucinate and just come up with any random answer, because we have instructed the model to stay closer to being factual versus being creative when you set the same parameter to 1. So as you can see, you can use the same prompt to extract the information. You can actually even go more advanced than that. You can ask the model to give you the same information, but now we are going to tell the model to say, hey, I want to send the output to a backend API. So give me the same information in a JSON format, right? And we are also telling the model to give the JSON response in results object along with these specific keys, right? So just by changing the prompt again, we are going to instruct the model to do two things: extract the information and also transform it to the JSON format. Okay, this is very powerful if you're looking to integrate the model output to your backend APIs. So just by making that simple change, we are able to get the same information now in a JSON format. Okay. You can also use this transformation functionality to say, hey, give me this summary in English as well as Spanish, right? So we can change this prompt to say, give me and let's try this. Okay, so as you see there, it gives you English summary, right? And gives you a Spanish summary. Now, I don't know Spanish, but if anyone out there knows Spanish, you can be the judge whether this is accurate enough or not. So this is an example of how you can change your prompt, do the prompt engineering along with your data, so the models are able to give you the insights and the outcomes that are valuable to your business use case. Okay, I'm going to give one final example here of the prompt engineering, where we'll instruct the model to compose an email that is going to help us with some follow-ups, right? So gives you an insight into the generative capabilities to make your agents more efficient, maybe, right? So here it came back with an email that is, giving your template so you can just make minor changes, proofread it, and send it along. Let me take a pause there and see if there are any questions.
Jeffrey had some questions in the chat. Jeffrey, do you want to come off mute and ask them?
Yeah, thanks. Love the demo, and now this really brings home how this works. I was just wondering, wouldn't it make sense to mix some of this with regular keyword searches? Like just look for the word airbag and maybe do that in parallel with the summary just to make sure that even though the setting's on 0, that we don't have any hallucinated results. I just feel more confident with something that's a little more concrete.
So, great question. Can you give me an example? I'm happy to, be adventurous here and maybe give it a try.
So back to the example where you're summarizing the results and the AI is saying, was there a mention of airbag?
Mhm.
And it says no. But
Right.
in parallel, you could just as easily run a search for the keyword airbag, airspace bag, right? All the iterations of that
Yes.
and confirm it independently. And so if you have agreement between your keyword search and your AI summary, now you have more confidence that your summary is correct.
Yes, that's a good point, right? And that's where I think the validation comes into picture, right? These models are really good at semantic search as well as inferring information, but sometimes it can be off, right? So you know the keyword search, maybe using any of your other search capabilities, right, or technology could be a good way to at least validate the model output during your testing phase, right? Or could be a parallel blue-green sort of strategy where you are not trusting everything in the beginning as you roll out these models, but as you gain confidence for your scenarios, you can then essentially take this to more of automated decisioning and other tasks. Any other questions?
Go for it, Octavio.
Hello, my name is Octavio. I have one question. If it's possible to split the conversation into person one or person two, or is it possible to get information only about date events or time events?
Yes, both is possible. So behind the scene, all the output that this UI is showing is coming as a JSON response, right? And for example, if you look at this transcript, it's giving you the time signature, right? As well as there is something called speaker diarization, right? So it can tell you whether this was speaker one, speaker two, or even if you have more than two speakers, right? It can give you the speaker IDs as well as the timestamp. So that functionality is available in Azure Speech Service today.
Sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Great question. Thank you. Any other questions, Hannah?
I am not seeing any specific questions. I'm seeing kudos on the Spanish translation, that it was quality Spanish and very readable. So that's good feedback. We have some other comments in the chat about where we can get access to this demo. So I've posted your link to the GitHub repo that you've published. Are you able to show that and walk through it?
Yes. Yeah. So thanks for the question and good segue for really next couple of slides. Just to summarize this, right? So we have packaged this demo as a solution accelerator, and it's available on GitHub. Here is the GitHub link. Hannah, thanks for putting that on the chat. So this demo, we looked at the real-time functionality, right, and all the real-time insights that you can get using various Azure Cognitive Services, including speech to text, Azure Language, and the OpenAI service. But it doesn't need to be just limited to real time. You might have historical call recordings where a ton of insight is embedded in those call recordings. You can use this solution accelerator to mine through that information to understand the trends, right? Why is there a long wait time? What are the things the agents are spending most time on, right? What are the things that's frustrating customers? All that wealth of information you can extract by doing post-call analytics. And this solution accelerator, if you are looking to do post-call analytics, it's a click of button. You basically deploy it. It will provision all the required components. Then you can drop in your call recording files, and it will give you these insights. So if you are interested in those conversations, I think Hannah has a survey towards the end. We'll appreciate your feedback on that. Here is the high-level architecture for both components. Again, I'm not going to go through this. You can, go through the repo and a ton of details captured there. What I'm going to do here is bring up the GitHub repo and do a 30-second, 60-second walkthrough of that. Okay, so it's AI-powered call center intelligence. And there are the component that we just looked at, the demo that we just looked at, there is in the call intelligence real time. If you go to this subdirectory, there are instructions to set this up in your environment. You can even run this on your laptop. It's built on Node.js, right? So there is a client component and the server component, really the front end and the back end. You run both components on your laptop, and you should be able to come to the same web UI that you saw during this demo. However, if you're looking to integrate this with your call center application or other systems, these are Lego blocks, right? So this gives you really all the backend functionality that you need to customize this experience and put it into your UI, right? So by no means we anticipate you just leveraging this UI. You probably have other UI which is used by your internal or external audience. You can feed this functionality right into that, because what this is giving you is responses in a JSON format through a REST API. You can plug this anywhere you like. Any questions?
Yeah, I have one question. When you ask for an answer, right? Like, is the airbag used? Answer yes, no, or maybe. Can you give a confidence level? Like, for example, if it's not used, like, if it says not mentioned, is it like 90% or is it 80%? Like, what is the confidence level? Can you print that number?
I'm not sure if in this information extraction scenario, it exposes that. We can maybe do that as a follow-up. I personally haven't checked that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
we're not seeing that as a capability at this moment to generate the confidence level with every prompt in completion. However, what we have seen is some fact checking. So if you're creating something like a flow to automate some of these steps, you can implement another action in your flow to fact check the output against the source to verify its accuracy before committing it to like CRM notes or something like that.
so when you fact check, how do you check? Like, do you just say like, okay, do you find a match, or can you say that, like, is it 90? I mean, basically, like, is there a way to quantify? Because the answer may be correct, right? But if my confidence level is low, right, then I might want to do a double check. But if it is a high confidence level, I may not check or validate. You know what I'm saying? If it says 90%, I'm confident that it's not mentioned, then I may not check. But if it says 40%, even though answer is not mentioned, but it's only 40% confident, then I want to double check, right? Because I may save some time there.
Yeah, so one pattern we highly recommend, especially with this generative AI, is start with a human in the loop, right? Use this as sort of assistant or a co-pilot for different scenarios, right? Where it's extracting the information, but asking customer to confirm that, or asking the agent to just review before it's using that for decision making, right? So that is a pattern that we highly recommend when you start leveraging this capability.
Yeah, that is one way, right? But other way is like, if for example, they don't want to expose the numbers, right? 80%, 90%, they can do the other way of doing is that if it is not confident, it can just say that, double check or something, they're going to give a clue so that people can focus on it, right? Because so the two ways, right? Either you're proactive or reactive, right? So you can pretty much give a clue saying that, oh, I'm not, just double check one more time or something, right? So that we only wherever it uh, gives that information, then the human in the loop will go and take that hint and go for it.
Yeah, good feedback.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, I can hand it back to you to wrap up. And if you want, I can go to that slide.
Yeah, there's one question from Jeffrey in the chat about the data privacy and about logging the prompt hyperparameters initial seed. So just to touch on the data privacy, I've dropped the link with all of the published details on that for you. Microsoft doesn't look at your prompts completions. We don't use that information to train the OpenAI model. That information is yours. And the only time anybody from Microsoft has the capability to access a prompt or a completion record is within 30 days of that occurring. And if it has violated our abuse and monitoring policies. So when we have you register for the service through the gated process, you are agreeing to abide by responsible AI practices and not use the models for any harm, or and we detail out those abuse policies. And if there's any violation and that gets flagged, that's the only time that Microsoft has access to it. And the only people that do have access to it is the abuse and monitoring team. So no, it's not logged anywhere where it can be accessed. And as far as can it be forgotten, those temporary logs are stored for 30 days and then they're deleted. So they are forgotten in that sense. Does that answer your question, Jeffrey?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Logging would be useful though, especially logging the initial seeds, right? If we get something that's particularly useful and you want to do variations on it, would love to
Yeah,
have that. But if that
you
could be
can do that.
okay.
You can store your prompts and completions, and you can persist them, and you can set a profile up for your users and maybe Cosmos or something, and store kind of their chat history, and or whatever it is that you want to do with that information to do analytics on it. That's possible. It's just, is it accessible by Microsoft? And that the answer to that is no.
Fantastic. And we've got a lady, Sarah Connor, that would like to tour your data center. Just kidding.
To our data center. I
Yes.
think we can I think we've got some information on how to sign up for a tour. I've never done one myself. I've done it virtually, but I'll see if we can get that and put it in the follow-up email. It looks like Octavio has another question.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question. This model is based on just on machine learning, or contains or is related to fusion logic also?
Future logic?
Yeah,
Or
fusion logic.
feature logic.
No,
And we'll
fusion logic. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so these models, they are autoregressive in nature, right? Essentially, it has learned the pattern of underlying data, right? So, for example, if you're looking at the language models based on the large text data set that it was trained with, it has learned the pattern. So it's able to essentially predict the next best word for a given sequence that there was before that, right? So essentially, the models are learning to understand the pattern and using that pattern predict the next token or the word in the sequence.
Hey, hey Anna, Dan has a question in the chat, and I also have the same question about Power BI.
About Power BI. Yes, I
Yeah.
was looking for an article that I've just recently shared with a customer. We've integrated some AI capabilities into Power BI maybe 2 or so years ago. And so we do have a lot of advanced AI capabilities built into Power BI today. We can generate text about your data and do that. We can generate your DAX queries or just provide AI insights within Power BI directly. And so all those advanced capabilities are already available, and we will be likely announcing some additional capabilities at Build. So Build is going to be a big event that's hosted by Microsoft. I believe the third week of the month. So just in a few short days here, you can attend it virtually for free and hear all of the announcements of how you can see AI, Copilot, et cetera, embedded into all of our offerings. There are details that we don't quite know for sure what's going to be shared yet. So I would just recommend tuning in or checking in with your account team after that time to get more information. We are at time, and I want to be respectful of everyone's schedules. So I will wrap it up with this request that you, if you have not done so already, register for our future conversations. This community of attendees has been great and highly interactive in our roadshows. So thank you so much for participating, joining, and sharing the information with your peers. We have the upcoming events starting next week. We will be talking through the anomaly detection and report generation. Should be pretty exciting. So see you all there. If you haven't already, please do provide feedback. I've dropped the link in the chat a few times. I'll be sure to put it in our follow-up email. But thank you all for your time today. If there was any question that we did not have an opportunity to address during the call, you can send it through the chat in this message in this Teams environment, or you can send me an email and we can address it that way. But thank you all so much. Looking forward to seeing you at the next one, and I hope you have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.